Desert-dwelling socialites with a love of conversation and information. The brass dragons may be of small stature and limited magical ability, but this species holds secrets and powers that make them worthy of the title dragon. Like their metallic cousins, the wings of a brass dragon connect to their bodies from the shoulders all the way down to their tails, giving the iconic manta ray appearance. Their scales are a dull brownish yellow when they hatch, and slowly change into a full glossy bronze when they reach maturity. These similarities with other dragons, along with a similar scale coloration to copper and bronze dragons, makes it difficult to tell them apart. So difficult, in fact, that it is easy to get them confused. Should I find myself confusing brass dragons for copper dragons in this excerpt, I truly apologize. The most iconic feature of a brass dragon's physical appearance is the large, curved plate which extends from the back of the dragon's eyes past their cheeks, curving upward past the jaw. This crest is made of bone and can be used to identify a brass dragon's skeleton. More subtle are the two chin spikes that grow down from the tip of the dragon's chin. It is believed that these crests and spikes grow larger in male dragons, but such theories have yet to be proven. Brass dragons are built to be flyers and burrowers. Their bodies are small and light, and their claws are strong and powerful. The claws themselves are hollowed out and act like shovels, allowing the dragon to quickly and effectively move dirt and sand. They are so adept at burrowing that their nostrils can close and their eyes covered in a protective membrane to keep sand out. Burrowing through the ground is such a large part of a brass dragon's life that they use these tools to carve out their lairs. Brass dragons lair in the great deserts of the world. The sandier and hotter, the better. The intense heat soothes them, and burrowing through sand is easier than solid rock. They use their excellent burrowing skills to carve out lairs beneath desert mountains and plateaus. These lairs are winding mazes of dead ends, roundabouts, and drop-offs to confuse intruders. The center of its lair is a grand conventional hall, a place for the dragon to entertain guests, or, more likely, feed its desire for attention. Their lairs are also dotted with several escape holes, hidden behind walls of sand or rock. These escape burrows are contingency plans for if the worst should happen, being a massive blue dragon attacking the brass one in its lair. Blue dragons are far larger and far more powerful than a brass dragon, and worse still, they share the desert ecosystem. However, the blue dragons are so massive that it is impossible for them to pursue a brass dragon through these escape tunnels. You will typically find such escape burrows in the dragon's sleeping room, its hoard room, and in its nest, where the eggs are kept. However, the brass dragon species spends a great deal of time outside of their lairs. They have adapted well to the arid desert environment and have a strange desire to live in harmony with their surroundings. They can go long periods without water and can metabolize almost anything. They rarely eat meat unless they are starving or evil, and will generally eat only a few plants every few months. Brass dragons possess a remarkably efficient metabolism. They can lick the morning dew off of desert plants and survive off of nothing but the small sup of water for months. However, should a brass dragon decide to hunt, it will either attack from the air or the ground, surprising desert camels and goats, killing them quickly, and carrying them off to their lairs to be eaten in peace, so as not to attract the rival blues. Brass dragons are largely described as gregarious. They seek out and enjoy the company of others. So gregarious are these creatures that their social circles are not limited to humanoids. They will seek out conversation with anything, from legendary sphinxes and genies to humans and even wild animals. Anything to feed their love of socialization and to handedly keep up with current events. But why would this dragon, one that is small and weak by dragon standards, sharing a dangerous territory with the mighty blue dragons, put themselves at risk just to socialize? Why so loquacious? Surely gathering information could be done through magic far more safely than leaving their lair and being exposed. That is the greatest secret, and what I believe makes these dragons worthy of the name. Refusing to converse with a brass dragon is not an option. They will not allow it. To quote, "A brass dragon simply cannot allow any sentient being to miss the benefit of their company." Narcissist. That is the best word to describe these dragons. Creatures in love with the sound of their own voice, and will do anything to subject you to a constant stream of it. I do feel it important to remind those adventurers out there that a brass dragon will not kill or eat you if you refuse to talk with it, but they will restrain you if they must, or perhaps take you prisoner. The deserts of Faerun are littered with tales of adventurers who fell asleep only to wake up buried neck-deep in sand and forced into a very, very long conversation with a brass dragon. This follows nicely into another, more embarrassing secret of a brass dragon. Though they love to socialize, this does not guarantee them to be any good at it. At first, their conversation is most welcome, a piece of entertainment along a hot desert road, but soon the dread of realization comes over you. These dragons will not shut up. And worse still, the value of their words cascading from their mouths are not likely to be terribly valuable. No secrets of hidden treasures or ancient lore or magical secrets, just a never-ending word salad. And, if the quote did not tell you this, your enjoyment of their word salad is entirely irrelevant. What matters is not what the dragon says to you, only that you are speaking with it. Or rather, that it is speaking to you. You see, a brass dragon does not enjoy a two-way conversation as much as one might think. It would much rather speak at someone than be spoken at themselves. This is why a brass dragon's least favorite form of company is another brass dragon. A meeting between two brass dragons is like the meeting between two people, both very outgoing and narcissistic, who love the sound of their own voice and do not care to give the social spotlight to anyone else, trying to talk to one another. Thankfully, they are not violent by nature, although harsh words will be exchanged, so brass dragons rarely interact with one another. The rearing of eggs is the only exception to this. Brass dragon eggs are never left alone, but they take at least 480 days to hatch, so having a mate to converse with is much better than being left alone in the minds of these dragons. Outside of this rare occasion, a brass dragon will fly across the desert and seek out creatures to converse with. However, a desert is not normally the best place for civilization. Animals are in much greater abundance here than humanoids, so all brass dragons are born with the innate ability to speak with animals. Even more miraculously, a brass dragon can learn any new language in under an hour, and your average adult brass dragon knows roughly 150 languages. So a brass dragon can talk your ear off in 150 ways, at least. It may be sad to reiterate, but the brass dragon is simply not built for combat. They are far smaller and less powerful than other dragon species. Though their claws and teeth are strong enough to tear a man to shreds, and their fiery breath capable of turning a caravan into a smoldering campfire, they cannot match another dragon. In combat with smaller foes, the brass dragon will leap from the ground, fly about, and land once more, moving from place to place, never standing still, all while peppering the enemy with a salvo of its flaming breath. By now, it should be known to you that metallic dragons have a secondary breath weapon, one with a unique effect on its targets, usually non-lethal. For the brass dragon, they can exhale a magical anesthetic gas, capable of putting an entire adventuring party, desert caravan, or even a giant to sleep in mere moments. Sadly, this tactic is not much help against a blue dragon. Blue dragons are just too powerful. The only advantage a brass dragon has against the blues is speed. Whether on the ground, burrowing through sand, or on the wing, a brass dragon can run circles around their blue rivals. When encountering a blue dragon, the brass will always escape back to the safety of its enclosed lair. The blue dragon is smart enough to know that an assault on another dragon's lair is too risky, so it will usually stay away. This gives the brass dragon plenty of time to use their social network, gather allies from all corners of its territory, and fight a siege against their blue dragon rivals. What would a creature as loquacious as a brass dragon keep in its hoard? What treasures could outmeasure their love of company? Anything that could feed that love, of course. Magical lamps holding genies, sentient magical weapons, or scrolls containing the spells telepathy and message. An adventurer may also be surprised to find that a brass dragon's lair is filled with furniture, with books, paintings, fine woven suits or dresses, with hardly so much as a copper coin to be found. For these dragons love art almost as much as they love conversation, and do not typically care to acquire liquid wealth. The acquiring of coinage is not a priority for a brass dragon. As with all dragons, I find their hoard to be the best example of their personality. Having possessions to converse with shows how much these dragons prefer conversation to conflict, but also how truly selfish a brass dragon can be. I encountered a brass dragon once. I didn't want to fight it off, wasn't sure I could win. But after the third day of it telling me how it invented the words cabbage, luchador, and nacho cheese, I was beginning to reconsider. Happy New Year, everybody! I hope you all enjoyed that video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff, you know the drill. Also, if you haven't heard, I'm still accepting stories. If you've got a ttrpg story, something funny or cool or embarrassing happened to your character in the tabletop, send me that story. I'll read it out and put it on the channel. But anyway, that's about it. I'll see you all on the next one.